Hello, this is Dave at cartitles.com and titlerecovery.com. This video we're going to talk about bonded titles. Some clients who have a vehicle with a title history problem or a missing title may go down the route of trying to get a bonded title to get ownership of that vehicle. This is best used when all other options have been exhausted. There's some disadvantages to using a bonded title, and we'll talk about those. The first thing to keep in mind is a bonded title is only going to be available if you have a legitimate acquisition of that vehicle. You have either a bill of sale or some documented way that that vehicle was transferred to you. An abandoned car is not going to work. Mechanics lien is not going to work. If it was just left in a parking lot or driveway or field somewhere, it's not going to work. You have to have a positive transfer. Now, there's other ways to get titles in other scenarios, and we'll talk about that afterwards. But a bonded title, you have to have a legitimate positive transfer to you as an owner. The bonded title process is not designed to fulfill something where you don't have a positive transfer. Here's basically how it works. You go to the DMV, and the DMV will say, this vehicle is not titled in your name. Well, if you represent to that registry or Department of Motor Vehicles that you are the current owner, they'll say, fine, we'll register it in your name, we'll title it in your name, but just to guarantee, in case somebody comes forward later with a lien, with prior ownership, or some other history of the vehicle that says it's their car, and it turns out to be true, we want to figure out what we're going to do to make that person whole. So what you have to do as a bonded title applicant is purchase a bond in the amount of 1.5 times the value of that vehicle. So if the car is a $6,000 car, you have to buy a $9,000 bond. That's probably going to cost 10 or 15% of the value, so it's going to be a few $100s to buy that bond, and then you can apply for a title with that bond and the appropriate paperwork for the DMV to get a title in your name. Now that title is going to have a stamp on it. It's going to say this is a bonded title. That stamp will stay attached to that car as a brand for up to 3 years, sometimes 5 years, depending on the state and the year of the vehicle. So it's going to be very difficult to sell that vehicle or to get a loan on that vehicle, but if it's just for the purpose of you driving that car around, a bonded title may be applicable and work for you. The other thing that that bonding company is going to want is to do a history on that vehicle to see, is there any claims of lien, is the transfer to you a valid transfer, are there any prior owners that are going to have a claim against it, because they don't want to have to pay out on that bond. If somebody comes forward and says, that's my car, I want it back, they have to pay off that person the amount of the value. So they're going to do everything they can to establish any prior claims against that vehicle. Now here's the punchline. You can get that bond, you can take that paperwork and give it to the state, they still might not accept the application. So you want to go through your scenario with the DMV to make sure they're going to accept that bonded title. Now if there are other possibilities that you don't have a good ownership transfer, or there may be a lien on the car, give us a call. There may be ways to resolve that by contacting prior owners, extinguishing prior liens. That's one of the things we work on with title recovery processes. So bonded title is one way to do it. We typically don't do a lot of bonded titles only because there's usually other more efficient ways to do it that may cost less money. More importantly, that may not have that brand on the title that could prohibit you from selling it or financing it down the road. So bonded title is one way of doing it. If you have more questions, give us a call, cartitles.com or titlerecovery.com.